evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this meeting of the Council of Town of Oakville. We're going to call this meeting to order and invite everyone to rise and join Council in O Canada. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Madam Clerk, as I understand it, we have regrets from Councillor Hutchins and nobody else. Councillor, do we have any declarations of pecuniary interest? I see none. Council, do you want to confirm the minutes of your previous meetings? Councillor Adams and Councillor Elgar are moving confirmation of the minutes on tonight's agenda. Any corrections? All in favor? Opposed, if any? The minutes are adopted. We have no public presentations, and we have a fairly light agenda. And we do have two presentations during the short agenda. But before we can get there, we've got to go to our standing committee reports. Council? Councillor Grant moves the standing committee reports, seconded by Councillor Knoll. Separations, discussion, all in favor? Opposed, if any, and the standing committee reports are adopted. All right, that brings us to our very first discussion item, the 2016 Strategic Plan Key Initiatives and Actions. And I'm thinking that CAO Green might want to kick things off.
Thank you very much, Mayor Burton, members of council. I just wanted to say a few words about the next two items that are coming up before I turn the podium over to Jane Kurtimosh to talk about the 2016 initiatives in your four-year strategic plan. Since 2006, Council's four-year strategic plan, through its vision, mission, and values, has been the driving force behind the town's core business activities. It drives our annual budget process and helps direct where the resources of the town should be focused as set by Council. As we work together in setting our budgets in line with inflation through the strategic plan, we can prioritize what it is we wish to achieve for our community. Notwithstanding that we have a plan, like any good plan, there are always challenges and opportunities which arise during the year. And I believe this is an area where our staff and our council excel. You certainly have a classic example this year being a desire on the part of the landowner of the Glen Abbey Golf Course to see development occur there. We'll have opportunities come along this year, hopefully through the funding of the federal infrastructure programs. So notwithstanding we have a plan, we need, as the mayor and I often say, enough jiggle room so that we can bring other issues in. I think it's very fair to say that the clear direction that you provide staff through your plan, it gives staff confidence in both the organization and contributes towards our success. And I think in item 2 tonight, which will be the results of our employee survey, you will see those outcomes in the high rate of participation and in the opinions expressed by your staff. Julie Clark, our new director, sitting up in the 4th row, I'll be introducing in a few moments. She will bring John Yardley, who you've seen before, with respect to our plan. Just a few short comments. Julie comes to us from the province of Ontario, through the government, I believe Ministry of Government. There we go. And she has a great deal of experience in the type of organizational transformation that we are going through as we continue to grow. I'm confident under Julie's leadership we'll continue to attract and retain employees, as we know Oakville is a great place for great people to do great things. We all look forward to working together with Council so that we can achieve your vision of being one of the greatest towns in Canada. So with that, I will ask Jane Kurtimosh to come up.
Good evening, Mayor, members of Council. As Ray noted, we've been doing our strategic plan, and Council's been setting its direction through the strategic plan for many years now. In fact, I think 2007 when we first adopted your vision, mission, and values, and those same vision, mission, and values have been driving our business plans ever since. As you may recall, in May of last year, Council adopted 5 key areas of focus for this term of Council. These 5 areas are amongst the 20 goals that are outlined in our strategic plan, but these are the areas that you had indicated you wanted to concentrate on. And we'll look at them again next year as we do our next citizen survey to make sure they're still the same 5 goals that you want to concentrate on for the rest of the term of Council. But these goals, you'll see, drive not only our business plans and our annual budget process, they're reflected in our annual report, which goes out in late June, early July. You'll see them highlighted in our annual accomplishments brochure, which we publish every January. And they're throughout our web communications as well. So they're really important to us as staff. And we've also created, this year, you'll see in your inbox, a couple of new publications that just help staff remember what are the key areas of focus and what are the actions that we've got planned for the coming year. We also have every year reported back to Council, and in February we did this on the results of the 2015. So I'm just going to highlight them quickly as we go through. One of the things I wanted to flag, and you'll start to see, this year we're going to be launching later this fall a new online performance dashboard, and I reported to you on this last fall, aligned with your strategic plan, as well as a couple of other key areas such as community safety, community well-being, and getting around public transportation. So these measures will now be available online in a performance dashboard, so it'll make it much easier for the public. Instead of having to go through these documents, they'll be able to go to our website, look at each one of your strategic priorities, see what the actions are, and see how we're achieving our goals. For 2016, we tabled the report in February, as I mentioned, and then we've had it available for comment online. Just wanted to highlight a couple of the key initiatives. Obviously, some of these are already underway as we go into the second quarter of the year. We'll be having our by-election very shortly. I mentioned the dashboard, and I really wanted to highlight a couple of these online tools that we're doing because they're very important around our commitment to open government, to open and transparent government, which is really the key to good governance. And we're also going to be updating our public engagement toolkit, which we first launched in 2011, which drives all of our public engagement here at the town. So we'll be going out to the public on our toolkit in the next short future. And we'll also be looking at how we can, again, create an online portal that'll bring together all of the engagement activities that are ongoing at the town. Because as you see, as we walk through all these initiatives, there's many initiatives that cross all of our departments, and we want to make sure that our consultation with the public and our engagement is aligned as much as we can so they can participate as easily as possible. Your second goal of environmental leadership, Again, this has been a key priority throughout the strategic plan. And certainly we had a large focus in 2015 in really addressing the issue of climate change and community sustainability. We launched a very successful climate change event, Carry On, Keep Calm and Carry On for climate change. And this is something that we're seeing more and more public interest in, and really it's also driving some of the infrastructure renewal to be prepared for climate change. So this is something that we've looked at in the past, but you'll see is also key initiatives in 2016 are really moving to the implementation of the strategy, looking at water conservation, looking at stormwater. So these are all things that are going to help create a resilient community. And we also can't forget the wildlife strategy, because again, we see these issues such as coyotes that come up from time to time, and we've really got to continue to help the public understand how they interact with wildlife in our community. We also, again, the tree canopy, as you know, the council has an ambitious target for forest canopy, and we'll be bringing back an update to the private tree bylaw in 2016 that is designed to help support our canopy goals. Economic growth, this is one area that is of particular interest in the community with regards to our historic business areas. People want to see our historic business areas thrive, and this has been something that the town has been working closely with the BIAs in terms of developing their retail action plans. The mayor and our economic development team have been involved with the Auto Mayors Summit, as well as forming international trade partnerships. So this is something that's we've done looking back and are continuing to build on in 2016. There's a lot of opportunity. Dorothy and her team have really been trying to bring knowledge-based industries, life sciences and technology. The new hospital has created business opportunities. So this is something that we're continuing to focus on in 2016, as well as the opportunities through international business development, particularly with the sister city relationship in China. Just wait for the slides to catch up here. Okay, let's start it again. Fiscal sustainability, obviously another key priority for this council. And certainly one of the major accomplishments from last year was to make the hospital local share contribution with the terms that council had directed staff. We also, last year was a bit exceptional because we had two budgets that were prepared because of the election. So both budgets, the 2015 and 16, were in line with inflation. And we also delivered the 10-year capital forecast. So we continue to focus through our finance department in terms of maintaining and balancing the budgets and managing within the debt levels that council has established for the town. And again, we've had both recognition internally and externally for council's work around fiscal sustainability. That objective continues and will likely continue for most councils. Certainly, we try to keep council up to date by coming quarterly on the town financials. You will see the 2017 budget later this year. There's also a number of other initiatives underway, and of particular importance is the asset management master plan. And again, the town is taking a leadership role in developing its asset management master plan and strategy to really take a leadership role in ensuring that we have the infrastructure plan for the future. We also, again, it's timely, we're doing an annual rates and fees review, but the development charges bylaw update to ensure that the bylaws, the development charges that the town puts forth do reflect the costs of growth. The last area of focus, outstanding service to our residents. It's certainly an ongoing priority for all departments. It's something that most departments can contribute to. We've highlighted, again, the public satisfaction from the 2015 citizen survey. Survey has been very high, and I think this measure in particular links to what you'll be hearing from John Yardley. We have a very engaged workforce, and this is reflected in the type of service that they deliver to the public. They're very committed to understanding the public's needs and to meeting those needs, so it's something they take a great deal of pride in. We also really are focusing, in last year, we were able to launch a new mobile app. We're reaching more and more of our residents through our online tools. We're up to about almost 30,000 residents that are following us, whether through one of our social media or through the app. And this really allows us to reach more directly to our residents. We're also expanding into after hours so that we have people can expect a higher level of service. So right now it's still for our emergency services, not fire, they have their own, but in terms of whether public safety issues that may relate from a tree down or flooding or those kinds of services, but eventually it will be expanded out to include more services. And I just want to highlight as well, obviously, the very successful Oakville Children's Festival, which continues to be a great source of pride for staff in the community. In 2016, again, we're continuing to develop our online digital strategy. I was making a joke sort of beforehand about the YouTube, because I don't know if you've had a chance to look at any of the videos that are now online in high definition, so it kind of puts a little extra pressure on you when you're coming to council now thinking about that. But we've also had already the transit app launched in February, so we're really again highlighting some of these great ways that people can interact with the town. But we're also continuing to really focus on customer service, and again, I've highlighted some of our key corporate initiatives, but I can tell you this is a priority for every department in the town. We also, as I mentioned, we have your areas of focus, but there are many other initiatives that are supporting the other goals. We have to keep them going. We don't want to let any of the plates drop. So I just want to highlight some of the major plans here that are ongoing and will be worked on this year. And so we're not letting those drop either, that we have a very ambitious work plan and we continue to move it forward. So I think that is sort of the highlights of the 2016 key actions, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Elgar.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the presentation. There's just one thing when you mentioned about development charges reflect the cost of growth. I would ask that you could
As much as
add on
possible, yeah.
to the degree possible as legislated by the province, because we all know development charges do not cover the cost of growth. So if we could add that in so there's no misunderstanding from all the YouTube viewers.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Lischina.
Thank you very much, Jane, for that wonderful report. I'm just curious if you could let the public know about how you reach or how you come up with the targets for each of the major initiatives in the dashboard.
Okay. The targets are worked out with the program areas, so they'll look at what has been their previous, through the budget process, our key performance indicators. So they'll be tracking progress, and that helps them to set the targets going forward to see, you know, where do we want to invest more. If council's directed to improve in an area, that might change a target, those kind of things. So it's an interactive, sort of iterative process.
Any other questions? Is there a motion? Councillor Giddings.
Thank you so much. In terms of, we have a very rich open data set. Any further developments on that? Are we looking at any further releases or updates on what we have?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we are actually continuing. We'll have a release. We just delayed it to get the results of the upcoming by-election, so then we'll be releasing more data sets later in April. We continue every project that we do that is generating data. We look at them now. It's sort of built into our work plan to see, is this a data set that we can publish? One of the key things with the new dashboard that we're developing is to have all of the measures linked to open data. And I think that's the trend that we're seeing in governments, and it's really part of support for open government. The data sets are great for people who understand data, but we've got to take that data now and make it into information. So that's what we're trying to do through our dashboard. We'll take all the data that goes into the measures and create the information in a way that's perhaps more understandable just to the average user. So that is what we're doing, and hopefully they'll all be linked. And we're also looking at linking to data sets from outside of Oakville as well, because that's part of our community as well. What are the things that people are watching, like hospital wait times or, public safety?
So continued commitment and expansion.
Absolutely.
Great, thanks.
A motion, maybe? Councillor Augur,
I'd be pleased to give you a motion to receive the report
as amended.
as amended, yes.
And is that you seconding it, Councillor Adams? All in favor? Opposed, if any, and that is carried. Item number 2, the 2015 Employee Engagement Survey. Welcome to council. This is your maiden speech, I think they call it.
It is.
And we're looking forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you, and I with you. I'm just going to give a quick introduction, but I did want to say how pleased I am to be able to present the next item on the agenda, the 2015 Employee Engagement Survey. This is the organization's 4th survey, and it serves as an important tool in building and maintaining a high-performing organization. The link between engaged employees and customer satisfaction is clear. And these surveys allow the organization to build on its strengths and identify areas for continuous improvement. With us tonight is Dr. John Yardley, President of Metrics at Work, the organization that was contracted to conduct this survey and the 3 previous surveys done with the town. Dr. Yardley was formerly a faculty member with Brock University, and upon his retirement became President of Metrics at Work, a consulting business that developed from his contract-based research lab at the university. Metrics at Work consults and conducts applied research with over 250 organizations in the public and for-profit sector. Dr. Yardley will be going over the high-level results of the survey. The commissions are reviewing the results and developing action plans with support from Human Resources. And we're also looking at cross-cutting areas that impact the organization for ways to continuously improve as well. I present to you Dr. Yardley.
Mr. Mayor, councillors, senior management team, and any members of the community who are present, it's my pleasure to present to you a very quick overview, and it is a very high-level overview of how well the town of Oakville has performed in the 2015 Employee Engagement Survey. They really are indeed great results, and I've got 2 pieces here. I presume it's this one, is it? We'll try it. Nope. There we are. Okay, square away. All right, so in order to try and explain very briefly why would one do an employee survey and why would you repeat it, there's 3 major values that come from it. The first one is one that accrues to management, and in particular to frontline management. So we make it very clear that the engagement survey, if it's used and used wisely, is going to be able to create frontline change. And that's really what you're looking for, because the municipality as a whole is the aggregate or the aggregation of all of its units. The second value is one that accrues to those in more senior positions and has a strategic value, but it also has a governance value, and I'll explain that just very briefly in a moment, which is how it relates to the reason why we bring results forward to some people such as yourselves in the council. And of course it has strong value to all stakeholders, and interestingly, I'm going to be able to use some of the information that I've heard just previously. So first of all, when you get a survey set of results, you can see where units are scoring highly and you can see where units are scoring lowly. That could be commissions, could be departments, could be teams within departments. So when you get into lower level reports, and there are literally quite a number of units, you can see variation. That variation is what we need to tap into in order to create positive change. You can learn from within the organization from units that are doing very well, and you can apply those learnings plus training and development exercises and other types of interventions to improve units that haven't done so well. So there's its management value and how it accrues to the front line with regard to staff.
The second value, and the value of yourselves and the senior management team, is that it allows you to benchmark in two ways, two very important ways. One is the external benchmark with regard to what you look like relative to other municipalities or other public agencies, and we've got some results tonight we'll be able to show you on that. And the second one is to know whether you've improved from where you previously were. And you already had very good results, so let me say to you that any improvement over previously good results is very difficult to do. But let's wait and see what the results look like. Now, finally, is a value, and someone just a few minutes ago, Jane, I believe, used the term KPI. The idea here is that if you can create a very engaged workforce, it creates better outputs, so in other words, better productivity. In two words, efficiency is gained, and effectiveness, which is low error rates, higher quality, is gained, and that leads to client satisfaction, in your case, from the point of view of your citizen satisfaction, and particularly with the services that are provided by the town staff and folks doing the various programs and services. So there's the overarching reasons for why it is that we survey, and it's three values. Now, those three values come up immediately when you look at this. This is really a causal chain. The KPIs are the yellow on the right as you look at it. But if you work backwards causally, you want an engaged workforce, and the creation of a workforce comes through what we call engagement drivers. You can use other words. They might be predictors, levers, the various elements that would go up to go into a person's work or into their team. And so those are the things that we want to focus on, the blue to the left. Right? And that's what your survey is mainly composed of. Now, we know that drivers exist at different levels. So it's important to understand that there's some characteristics of a job which accrue to the person who's doing the job, but surrounding the job, just immediately out from it, is the team. And that can be the resources that are applied, the human resources that are in that team, and the supervision, the management of that team, and how they work together. And then finally, you could work further up, you could have departmental, you could have commission, you could have organizational. In terms of simplicity, we're just using those three levels there. Now, when we talk about engaged employees, we really should be talking about engaged with. You want, in the best of all circumstances, your employees to be engaged with the job that they do, with the team that they work with, and with the organization as a whole. And so the idea of an engaged workforce is engaged at all levels within which they work inside the organization. And of course, the outcomes that you want to have high levels of everything and anything that might accrue to staff, to their teams or departments, to the organization, to citizens and the clients who use the services of this town. Now, the whole thing is summed in that sentence that's just come up. So working from left to right, you try to improve engagement drivers where they're low, you try to replicate them where they're high by learning where they're high, and you try to change internal states of engagement, in other words, how people feel about the job, how they feel about the people they work with, and indeed how they feel about the town as a whole. And that leads to this improvement in KPIs. And there's two levels at which that operates. The first one is really the local team, if you want. Teams and departments really is the level at which that intervention is done. And then there are some things that can be done organizationally, which is more corporate in terms of its nature, often being done through things like training and development programs, or the intervention of, or the use of new systems that might be placed across the organization in order to gain efficiencies. So that's our model of engagement. And I want you to focus on the blue and the green, because that's what's going to come up in the next slide, which describes what's the content, therefore, of a survey. And so you can see there that there are job drivers, there's work area drivers, and organizational drivers. So there's drivers at each of those levels that are placed inside the survey. You can see there that 7 or 23% of them operate at the job level. I won't go through them. They basically are self-explanatory. But you can see that most of those things are to do with what amounts to the elements of a person's job. Now, beside that is work area drivers. You can see another 20% of the survey is done with work area drivers, and you can see again that those are the things that surround a job and are the things that are, operate within a team working environment. And then finally, there's 17 or 56% that are at the organizational level. If we were to do anything in terms of change going forward, I would suggest that we would push out some of the organizational drivers, drop them, and we'd put more in the work area and job drivers. So just as a key or an idea for improvement in the future, we think that this is where you get your greatest gain, by having more drivers that are useful to managers in terms of creating positive change. So having said that, there's an important element that needs to be understood in terms of the scoring. You saw some very high satisfaction scores with regard to client or citizen outcomes. What's important to understand here is that the metric that is used that underlies a survey of this nature runs from strongly disagree to strongly agree. So if I ask about a supervisor, or if I ask about pay, or if I ask about resources, or if I ask about workload manageability, imagine you are not going to get everybody saying strongly agree that they're managing their workload, that they're paid satisfactorily, that their supervisor is great. So do not expect scores that are in the 80s and 90s for many of these drivers. Right? It's not a school report card. It doesn't start at 90 and end at 110. So the reality is you're going to, or you need to expect some of your drivers to be scoring lower. So I won't say anything more about that other than to say that when this comes up now in pieces, you'll see that I've started with lines drawn at 50 and 80, which is roughly where the norms are for our database. So what's important to understand is where then does the town fit with regard to the lower level and the upper level of similar drivers to our database. And that's where it sits, higher. Notice that the highest driver is higher than the average highest driver, and your lowest driver is clearly higher than the lowest driver. So you know immediately the town is in a positive situation relative to what are the norms in our database. Now, what's key to understand in terms of driving change inside organizations is not driving change at the corporate level, because you'll see something very important that will happen to the range as I drive deeper into the town of Oakville. So the first one is if we go to the commissions, and there were 30 drivers, and let's argue just to make it easy that there are 5 commissions, then 5 times 30 is 150 drivers. Notice the number of drivers went up dramatically by just dropping the measurement of what we're doing down to the commission level. You'll see now that the lowest commission driver is at 52.7 and the highest commission driver is at 92.9. Very high indeed. So what you're seeing is the range going out. So as the range goes out, the variation goes up. And this, of course, accrues as you go down through the organization. So we look at lowest department drivers, drops to 30.6. So there's a driver where there's obviously a concern or an issue in one of your departments, at least one, because I'm only showing you the range. And you can see here the department high moves up to 96.4, and then the lowest group, actually one of them scored 100% on a driver. Everybody in that particular group said strongly agreed to the items associated with whatever that construct was. The important thing here, folks, is to understand the town does very well indeed. But where we need to create improvement is not at the town, and it's not even really at the commission level. Notice that the lowest commission driver is still above the lowest of what we see inside our norms. So that's another sign of how strong your commissions are. The fact of the matter is that where you've got problems is deeper. And these are the squeaky wheels as councillors that you hear. And so the reality is it's not a lot of issues, there's a few issues. And they come to your attention, you often think, well, is this the whole town? And the answer is almost always no, unless there's something really key going wrong inside an organization, which just doesn't generally happen. Now, having said all of that, the response rates are really fantastic. There's some words at the bottom, I won't repeat them. But having said that, visually you can see what the response rates were, if we can get them to come up. And we have a mouse here that's refusing to work for me. So let me just do that. So we go from 68.2 in 2008 to an amazing 92.6 in 2015, just a superb result. I won't say with absolute confidence that that's the highest we've ever received in a municipality, but I think it is. We've got too many for me to go back and check every single one of them, so I didn't. But this is just an absolutely amazing result. What's important to understand is there's the average for a municipality. Clearly exceeded it. And this is, a true sign of engaged employees when it comes to the survey. And at the same time, tremendous rollout practice by the survey project team and by the championing of these people that you see in front here, the senior leadership team who get behind it. And then all of the people arrayed with them, their directors, managers, etc., encouraging people to fill out the survey. The beauty of this, folks, is that such a high response means that you have real confidence that when you look at the reports, you've got scores that, so long as there's no other biases in it, that truly reflect the town, the commissions, the departments, and the teams within those departments, because it's so incredibly high. It really is a fantastic result. Having said that, there's another very simple, easy way to understand where is the town with regard to improvements. And this is taking what we call the grand driver average. Now remember, I said there were 30 drivers, and some of them were at the job level, some of them were at the team level, some of them were at the organizational level. Take all 30 together, divide by 30, and you have what is called a grand driver average, a simple single number to explain, well, what has happened inside the town since 2008. So if I bring that up, you can see there's been slow incremental change, and this is what you're looking for. This is exactly what organizations need to look for, because you're going to get some teams that go down, you get some teams that go up, but you want a long, slow journey to the right. And if you can get that, then you have a town that's going from strength to strength to strength, and that's exactly what we have at the town of Oakville. It's a very, very good result over a long period of time, and sustaining that has obviously taken quite an effort, and I think it's been really, really good. There's very few in our database that do this. They almost always run into issues sooner or later that bring down their grand driver average. Having said that, there's the city or region. It's really a municipal average, so you can see that quite clearly in 2015, in fact going further back, you easily exceeded the average, so the town is clearly above average using the grand driver average. Even our database, which is full of for-profits and smaller organizations that don't have the geographic disadvantages and things that you have here in the town, you still easily and handily exceed that. On top of that, you can see that the very best score that we've got in our database for a grand driver average over the same drivers that were sitting inside the Town of Oakville's survey, clearly you've exceeded that. So that means you have the highest grand driver average in our database. And we have, from memory, 35 municipalities. That's towns, counties, cities, regional municipalities. And they're almost all Ontarian. In fact, I think they all are in the comparison that's being done here. And then finally, just to make sure that you keep stretching, if you want to get to the very highest that we've got in our database for an organization, a small for-profit insurance company, so don't think that you can reach that easily. There's the highest. So there's a real stretch goal. Some words down here. It's important to recognize that these differences have been exaggerated because it is a non-zero origin. Okay, tremendous results as far as I'm concerned, and now I'm going to break those down a little bit for you. So my apologies, that should say 2012 at the end. You're going to see lines that are dark blue from 2015 scores. You're going to see light blue ones from 2012. And so when I bring these up, what you see is ranked from the highest positive difference compared to 2012 to the lowest positive difference. All of these drivers are at least 1% higher than they were in 2012. So you can see there, and I will have to apologize again, but you can tell from my accent that the reason why I said left is because we drive on the other side of the road in New Zealand. And I've just come back from New Zealand, so it's the other left. It should say the right side. I've got that mistake twice, so forgive me for doing that. But as you can see, a large number, 17 out of the 29 common drivers, increased by more than 1% from 2012. And if you look on the left-hand side, you'll see that there's org, there's job, there's work area things there. So these improvements have occurred in multiple levels inside the organization, exactly what you want, because you want all of them to be incrementally changed. You don't want them to just occur in one part of the organization. So another way of looking and breaking down that grand driver average is looking at each of the 30 drivers in order, and that's what we're looking at here from highest to lowest. Not much, by the way. This is a very important thing to understand. You don't see dramatic change at an organizational level. You see dramatic changes by teams within. And it's going to be my pleasure tomorrow to address some folks at the library. And one of the library branches did an astounding increase. Now, I'm speaking out of turn because that's not what's in the presentation. But since putting the presentation together, I've had the opportunity to look at that. And so it's an example of where you've got to go in order to be able to see magnificent change. And in this case, it was a branch that leapt up by about 26 or 28 percentage points as a whole, which is just tremendous. Now, having said that, there's still some good news here, because 6 of the 29 improved or were zero, so in other words, they didn't regress. So there's 23 out of the 29 improved, which leaves us You can see there's 6 that went back. In other words, they regressed a little, but not by much. And so overall, you end up with this tremendous result of 23 improving, 6 regressing. Grand driver average moving from 68.7 to 70. Notice that's slightly different from the previous slide because here we're looking at 29 that were common in 2012 and 2015. So just an excellent set of improvements over a large number of drivers led to the changes that you've seen in the grand driver average. Unpacking it a little further, so helping you understand what does the municipality look like relative to this municipality look like relative to others. So again, using the same color coding, your scores are in dark blue, the light blue are for the municipal database average, and you can see here a large number of green different scores. Starting from 10.1 and running down to 5.1, we use that as an arbitrary number in order to show what we call observable difference. We don't use statistical difference, so if any of you are wondering why isn't he talking about statistical difference, you don't use statistics for differences when you've got large numbers of people, and you have in the town and you have in the database, and 0.1 or 0.2 would be enough to create a statistical difference. You can see here the blue line, the blue bar clearly overlaps the light blue bar by a large degree all the way down that page. And right at the top is how people feel about the senior management team. Now, I know they're to my left, and I know they signed the check. They didn't pay me to do this, but it is certainly their leadership, at least in part, then running through them to the front line, through the various successive layers of management, directors, managers, and supervisors, to the staff themselves. And the way, of course, which staff rally around their supervisor is how you get these tremendous results. So you can see here again, it's not the left-hand side, it's on the right-hand side, so apologies again for that. So on its own, this is a terrific result. What's important to understand is you haven't seen all of them. So let's go to the rest. There's the rest. 6 more drivers are between 4.8 and 2.4% higher than the municipal database. Not a single one of them, I think. Oh, sorry, there are 2 that are lower than the database, but by very, very little. So you can see that in the effort to be the best town in Canada, you have from your engagement scores very clear evidence of something about the way in which people have responded to this survey that I would say that you're well on the road to that destination. Because you don't get engagement scores this large and this different from the database unless there's something going right inside the organization. So that's the summary in terms of what's there. What's important to know, and it would take another 2 slides to show you, is that the best scores that we've got have been exceeded in this case by 3 of the town of Oakville. So the town of Oakville has set new database highs for 3 scores. One of them is their dedication to customer service, which is one of your outcomes, your KPIs. So tremendous result again, not only in terms of how you exceed the database, but also how now you've set the bar at a higher level for 3 of those drivers. And we have so many municipalities, 35 of them in our database, it's hard to set any new high scores because you're competing with a large number of municipalities, and some of them are small, some of them have got advantages that you don't have. Others, of course, don't have some of your advantages. Having said that, it's important to understand, and I talked before a few seconds ago about squeaky wheels. Here's your squeaky wheels. You don't see squeaky wheels in averages. You see squeaky wheels in variation. And what I'm about to show you is the frequency distributions of some of the scores from the 2015 averages. So there's the strongly disagree to agree arrayed across the right. When we look at customer service scoring at 84.1 and coworker interaction at 82.2, you can see what I call, very simply, a great big right bulge. All right, I got my lefts and rights right here. This creates skew. All right, I'm not going to get into telling you all about negative and positive skew because that there is actually a negative skew, and you'll all be saying, what? You mean the big right bulge on the right-hand side, the positive side leads to negative skew? Don't ask me why statisticians decided that was the case. It's actually to do with the distribution of the tail to the left. But having said that, you can see here that if you talk to the wrong people, 1% would strongly disagree about customer service, another 1% would disagree. So the squeaky wheels who come to you about customer service or would talk about how we don't do customer service the way we should don't reflect the huge majority of people who are on the right-hand side of the scale. The same for when you've got coworker issues. very clearly here, you've got a huge proportion of people who are getting along with other people inside the town with regard to the way in which they interact and support each other and help. Of course, you do have problems in all organizations, and that's that very small thin tail that's to the left. Now, you can get a thickening of a tail, and I've used one here called workload manageability, and you can see that what's happened now is that right-hand bulge has gone down like a tube of toothpaste, squeezed down. What happens? They scoot across to the left. And you can see now that when it comes to managing workload, that you've got 31%, nearly 1 in 3 of employees at the town of Oakville saying that they're struggling to manage their workload. All right, so from the point of view of if they're concerned about getting high customer service levels, et cetera, I'm not here to tell you that you need to put more resources into the town. I'm just saying that here's an example of a thickening of the tail and a fairly large proportion of people who are struggling in order to manage what it is that they're doing. And then if you look at the lowest end of that distribution of scores with regard to the averages I showed you before, you can see now that the numbers are getting up quite high again with regard to opportunities for advancement, team recognition, and reward. These are in particular 3 areas that have been looked at and possibly, but not necessarily, will be aimed at trying to be improved on between now and the next survey. Just one thing in conclusion here, I wanted to show you what the town of Oakville looked like with regard to 4 key elements that we put into all repeat surveys. The first one we ask is what do they think about surveying with regard to quality of work life. The second thing we ask them is whether the results of the previous survey were communicated appropriately to them. The third one is whether anything was done with them. And the fourth one, which is the most important one, is called the traction item. In other words, when there was actions taken, did it actually result in positive changes in the work environment according to the perceptions of the employees that filled out the survey? So there's the 4 questions. And again, the maximum score you can score on this is 100%. And you can see here that this is the bold bars. So these are the highest scores ever achieved by any single organization. These are different organizations, so they all compete on each of these. And you can see that to a large degree, you'd have a large number of people strongly agreeing in order to get 86.9 with regard to the importance of the employee survey. Now, here's the averages. What's important to notice is that you're seeing that the average is clearly in from the highest, so there's always room for improvement. You're also seeing that at the bottom, the traction item, on average, on balance, when people are asked whether change really occurred or not, they're right on the margin of 50%. In other words, if it was normally distributed, as many were saying that there was an improvement as there was saying that there wasn't an improvement. Right? Now, most of you who have read any change management literature will know that change management is extremely hard to do and very hard to do effectively. In fact, there's a state, I don't know whether this is an urban legend or not, but you read about the fact that 70% of change initiatives fail. So getting a high score on a traction item is very hard to do. You can notice there that one organization has scored at 68.3. That's the highest that we've ever seen. This is the town of Oakville. Right? So there's not as much importance attached to the survey with regard to how people feel about it, but notice that every one of the other gray bars is longer than the average. So it's consistent with what we see in your overall results. You've got people here who are saying that they hear better than average with regard to the results of the previous survey, better than average that we do action planning, and better than average that we get traction across the organization. And remember, it's harder to get those, particularly the traction score up, if you're already high. And remember, the grand driver average was the highest that we've ever seen for any municipality. So the higher you go, the harder it is to get improvements. And so it's the conundrum, of course, that you're faced with in terms of trying to improve. So having said that, what's happening inside the organization is a communications process. In fact, my meeting tomorrow with the library folks is part of that rollout on the library side, but that's also already occurred on the town side with regard to the results, with me doing some presentations to commissions, and then that's been carried on by Julie's group and by others inside the organization. There's a need for learning and for focused interventions, and literally that's exactly what I showed you before. Where you've got lows, there's probably a need for intervention, particularly if there's a low score in the 30s or 40s, on what particular driver that might be. So to be a focused intervention, it's not a town intervention. And we can also look at the strengths inside the organization. There's tremendous opportunities to identify people who have done great jobs, great work, teams that have done very, very well, that they can receive congratulations, but you can also learn what is it that they're actually doing that makes them such strong teams. And when you learn that, that can be potentially, but not always, transferred in terms of other parts inside the organization. Action planning is very key to this because organizational improvement only comes through continuous improvement. And so continuous improvement through action planning is the way that this is done. What's most important here for me is that this needs to be done at the front line, and that aggregates up through the organization. That you cannot consistently expect improvements if this pressure isn't applied over a longer term than just following the survey. And so key to this is maintaining some form of continuity in terms of action planning around the way in which people relate to each other and work inside the organization, and then keeping that benchmarking score, which is the overall survey. And it might sound like I've got my marketing hat on, but the reality is you need to survey 2 to 3 years down the road to see whether things have regressed or improved. And you've got such high results, I'm going to leave you that if we're your surveyors and we use the same approach next time, being so high, you better be prepared for the odds being against you being able to go up again. All right? Regression to the mean will work against you, and that's another statistics lesson that you do not want to hear from me. Mr. Mayor, I would entertain any questions that might be here.
Thank you very much for the information, Council. Councillor Adams, then Councillor Elgar.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It's very interesting. Are you able to share any further information drilling down into the organization with respect to groups or departmental areas where there's a particular issue that we might want to focus on, or an area that's been especially good where we should celebrate and look to them as leaders for the organization?
Right, so I probably out of turn spoke about a library branch that has done a tremendous job. So there are examples. The problem is, of course, there's, I don't know, 150 frontline units, and I don't have that in my head. The information is certainly inside the town, and certainly it's being celebrated at local level by managers and directors, et cetera, when they pass out the results and talk to their staff about it. Perhaps, Ray, you might want to speak more to this. I can't personally give that to you in this delivery. I don't have that information right at hand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we'll look at how we can package information that, speaks in general to where some of the weaknesses are and perhaps in general. One of the things you have to be careful of, you can start to, some of that is confidential information because you can drill down to where we begin to look at, not quite down to personalities, but certainly work groups, which might be somewhat disconcerting to them. So I'll look at how we can package things so that you can get a better flavor of what is going, certainly within the departments and above, but I want to be cautious because our survey does go down very low. In fact, I think we go down as low as 4.
A group of 5,
A group of
at least
5.
3 respondents.
Perhaps Council would be better satisfied with a report from management as to what your go-forward actions and activities would be in the light of what you've seen.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion.
That'd certainly be the most constructive use of the material, unless Council wants to start organizing, managing itself. And
No, I have no desire for, group levels of 5 people kind of information. I don't think that's valuable to council. I think it would be valuable to get a sense of what's next. And I think that might support our staff in recognizing that we do take the results seriously and we do look for change as a result.
Right. Well, it's Councillor Elgar and then Councillor Lishchyna.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Burton. A question regarding the survey and how you're comparing it 08, 10, 12, 15. Are you asking identical questions every time? So you just take whatever the person come up with or the group come up with in 2008 and ask those identical questions so you can actually compare? So it's like baseline questions you've been using, or are you making up different questions?
So there are some changes to the survey, but there haven't been a lot of large changes to the survey. Most of the constructs are very, very similar. So the construct would be a driver, and it's usually measured with at least 3 items. We're talking with the town about the possibility of doing a whole sea change, which is moving to single items. And the single item introduces unreliability, but allows you to shorten the survey and increase the number of drivers. So it's a trade-off that you do. So to a very large degree, from 2008 to 2015, there have not been major changes to the survey.
Like 5%, 10%,
In
20%?
terms of the items?
Yeah.
We actually, there might be as low as that. I couldn't say with surety unless I went back and checked, but I can tell you what we do. We do make sure that the items are comparable when we do those grand driver averages, and we might drop one because it's a grand driver average. We might drop one because it's not similar enough as you go through the years. So, but most of them do not change. You know, it's you know, whether you're, say, for instance, your supervisor helps you create clear goals. That doesn't change from one year to another.
Okay, I appreciate that, because sometimes the results may look one way, but be quite different when you start getting into the
Absolutely.
details. So, thank you.
Councillor China?
Thank you very much for that fascinating report. I'm curious, I'm assuming you're looking for normal distribution in the answers. So when you have outliers of completely, not satisfied to completely 100% satisfied, do you remove those? Or, because the reason I'm asking is, if you're trying to put resources to improve, are you actually spending too much time, money, energy on a very small group of people?
Right. There's an interesting question you've asked. So if you could just bear with me while I pull back up this and advance it so that they're all up there. When you get high scores, you get the skewed result with the big right bulge. You'll notice workload manageability, and I'm sorry, I don't know exactly where it is, but at 54.7, it's going to be in the lower part of the distribution. Notice what happens. You get something that sort of starts to look a little bit like a normal distribution, but clearly it isn't. What's important to understand in particular is the middle point is not a point like a fence sitting point. So in other words, you very rarely get normal distributions when you ask people of their opinions about the workplace things that we measure in a survey. It's almost never happens. You get a flattening, which is what you're seeing here as you get lower results. You get bulges to the right-hand side, and in very disturbed teams who are upset, you get the bulge squeezing right across the left-hand side. All right? And then they score in the 30s because they're really upset about something. But generally speaking, you don't get normal distributions. Now, you talked about taking groups out. We don't take anybody out because that overall score that we showed you, the percentages, is each of those we score strongly disagree at 1, disagree at 2, and we take the number and we multiply it, the number who scored that by that particular value, add them all up and divide, and it gives you a score out of 100, right? I know that's a little bit long in explanation. The top box, bottom box idea, which you do see in retail, and particularly the top box, which is repeat buyers of things and what have you, is a very frequently used approach, but we don't like it because what it does is it throws away what I think is important information. But we do color code strongly agree, and color code strongly disagree and disagree in the reports, and that shows up in a graph that I didn't show you folks in every single one of their reports. So there is a top box, bottom box there that they can look at.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Motion then? Councillor O'Meara moves receipt. We just need a seconder. Councillor Grant, thank you very much for that tentative volunteer. All those in favor? Opposed if any, and that item is received. Thank you very much for the information.
You're welcome.
Council, we have no other matters on the agenda known to me. Oh, we do. Number 3, ratification of the QP 1329 collective agreement. And I guess I'll look for a motion and a second. Councillor Adams moves. Councillor O'Meara seconds. All in favor? And that carries. Congratulations to everyone involved on a successful outcome of that. And now, is there any, are there any new business matters to occupy us tonight? I'm not aware of any. Councillor Knoll.
I just want to take a moment just to remind everybody about the GTAA Toronto Pearson Open House that's coming up this Thursday night at Town Hall from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So to those on YouTube watching tonight, if you want to learn more about the Toronto Pearson operations, noise, etc., come on out and you can talk to both the GTAA staff as well as, I just got confirmation, NAV Canada will be present as well. So that's 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock on Thursday night here at Town Hall.
Well, thank you very much. I know there was some cynical expectation or speculation that NAV Canada wouldn't show, so good on them. All right, then any regional reports or question period about town boards and advisory committees? I see none. Any requests for reports? Good. So we need a mover and seconder for their bylaws as printed in the agenda. Councillor Elgar and Councillor Knoll. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, and that's carried. It completes our agenda. We've had very good news and good reports tonight. It's been great working with you, and we are adjourned.